Hi everyone and welcome back. So we will also talk few more use cases of the Lambda with other services of AWS. Okay, so let's say we are writing the Lambda Authorizer, right? Lambda Authorizer is the Lambda. What it does is it validates your authorization for all the requests which are passing through the API gateway, right? So we can write a Lambda Authorizer and we can also use a serverless to write it, right? What are the other use cases we have? I mean, I will just go through them. So here we have, these are the different Lambda triggers we have, right? So if we talk about the multiple use cases, this Lambda trigger can be associated with any of the service like S3. So if you see Lambda trigger, these all many services are there. So Lambda is basically used for REST APIs to write in a serverless application, but heavily it is being used as a Lambda trigger. So API gateway is also a Lambda trigger when you are writing the REST APIs, because there is someone who is executing this Lambda through something. It can be API gateway, it can be S3, SQS, SNS, right? So you can also attach API gateway as a Lambda trigger where you have to define what is your API, what is your HTTP API endpoint, right? All these things. So API gateway is also a Lambda trigger. So API gateway is whenever the request is coming to the API gateway, this Lambda will execute. Whenever the file is getting uploaded on the S3, this Lambda will execute. Whenever the new message is coming to the SQS SNS topic, this Lambda will execute. So this is what Lambda trigger is. There is some entity which is going to trigger the Lambda, right? Lambdas are event driven. So whenever there is a particular HTTP event or the file upload event or the message send event, all these gets triggered, then Lambda will execute. If you see these particular actions SQS, so here we will be specifying the queue, on which particular queue we are adding this Lambda trigger, right? So I already have this Lambda created, and here I can just go into the Lambda trigger option. I will go to this test Lambda, and when you just see the Lambda console, here using this add trigger button, you can go inside the triggers and you can add whatever you want. So I was talking about SQS. So what I want is, I don't want to attach this Lambda to the API gateway and expose it as an HTTP endpoint. What I want to do is, whenever you are sending SQS message, I want to execute the code which will drain the message from the SQS and will process it, or maybe will write it to another SQS queue. So that is a Node.js code we are going to write, and this Lambda will automatically get invoked whenever there is a message coming to that SQS queue. Similarly, the SNS, whenever anything is getting posted to the SNS topic, there can be Lambda can also be as a subscriber of that topic. I mean, SNS is like simple notification service where you can actually send a message to a Lambda, to HTTP endpoint, to SQS. There can be a multiple subscriber of a particular topic. So here you need to specify the topic name. Once the message is published, Lambda can be a subscriber, and that will read the message and do something else, right? Similarly, S3, you are specifying the bucket name and then the actions like create, update, delete, put, all these events. Let's say when you are creating an object in the S3 bucket, then you wanted to execute something, then you can actually add a S3 trigger. What we are doing is, I have a source S3 bucket. I keep uploading the thumbnails, which are the large images, but I wanted to process them and resize them and upload it to the secondary bucket. So I can do that with the S3 trigger. Whenever the object is getting created in the S3 bucket, I will execute this Lambda. It will read that event object having S3 file name and preprocess it and write it to the another S3 bucket. Okay, so this is the use case of S3 as a Lambda trigger. Similarly, you can add it to another services like dynamodb table. Whenever you are updating a record in the dynamodb table, then you can execute this Lambda. API gateway we have discussed. Even the load balancers, application load balancers, are nothing but balancing the load based on the routing rules. API v1 users go there, API v1 cart go there, right? So particular endpoint we can actually point to this Lambda. I mean, the load balancers can also trigger the Lambda directly. Similarly, the CloudWatch logs, DynamoDB, there are many, right? So these are all Lambda triggers we were discussing. So we will try to write few like SNS, SQS, S3. These examples we can cover, and these are the easy ones also using serverless. Okay, thanks everyone.